It's quiz time. Which is better? This one, the smaller one, or the bigger one? Well, of course it's the bigger one, isn't it? Oh, maybe it isn't. Maybe you're on a diet. Maybe you're not that hungry. Maybe you're a dentist and you don't want to completely ruin your teeth. Well, the same applies to campervans. Whilst every time I test a small one, people say, you can get a bigger van for that much money. But do you want a bigger van? Well, today we're looking at the smallest campervan in the Malibu van range. Hello, I'm Peter Vaughan, and today I'm bringing you a full review of the Malibu Van Compact 540 DB. So here it is, the baby of the Malibu van range. And Malibu, of course, part of Cartago. But whereas you associate Cartago with big A-class motorhomes, Malibu, of course, although they also build low profiles and A-classes, best known perhaps for their van range. And perhaps that's because Cartago's very first Malibu campervan dates back to 1979. The Fiat-based range, the Malibu van range that we know today, came into existence in 2013, and now numbers 7 models, 3 on the 6-metre Fiat Ducato, 3 on the 6.36 or 640 Fiat Ducato. Just this little baby on the medium wheelbase, the 5.41 metre, hence the name 540. So this is very much the tiddler of the Malibu van range. But of course, being smaller makes it more manoeuvrable, easier to park, and more adaptable when you're going into town. So this van is 5.41 metres long, 2.59 metres high, and the usual Fiat 2.05 metres wide. So it's not much bigger, very similar size in fact to something like a long wheelbase Ford Transit Custom or a long wheelbase Renault Traffic, and it's not that much bigger than a long wheelbase Volkswagen T6. And all those vans of course come from the size below. So this is the smallest Ducato there is now. In terms of price, it's also about as small as a Malibu gets. Base price is $62,410, onto which you've got to add your on-the-road charges, bringing it up to $65,790. Now, this one, of course, in the German style, has some options packs on it, packs that really are part of the standard spec effectively. The chassis pack, the main cabin pack, and the style pack. Now, we'll virtually consider those to be standard equipment. So, in total, that brings it up to $71,430 as a starting price for this vehicle. But again, there are some options, things like the alloy wheels, the metallic paint, and the automatic gearbox. The total for this vehicle, which has been supplied to me by Choose Leisure in Canterbury, the total for this exact vehicle, $79,270. So what do you get for your 79 grand? Well, it is a very smart looking campervan, isn't it? Starts with this bold Malibu chrome branding on the front and these black highlights on the grille, all part of the style package. The alloy wheels, they're a £790 option, but I can't see many people going without those. And of course, you've got the typical Malibu graphic scheme, which suits the van very well, I think. The windows, well, they do have these frames around them, but they're not the flush fitting windows, which I always think look neater on, well, what is a premium campervan. Otherwise, typical features, of course, your cassette servicing hatch, your mains hookup point, and your Truma vent for the boiler, of course. And then, well, This smaller Malibu doesn't come with some of the variants that you get on the bigger models. There's no charming option, so you can't have the GT sky view over cab sunroof that you can on some of the bigger models. What you can have on this 540 though is the family for 4 option, which gives you a pop top and effectively 2 more berths with a double bed upstairs. Now if you want to see what Malibu's pop top looks like, I have done a full review of the Diversity 600 model, and that one had the pop top option, so you can watch that afterwards perhaps. Round the back you've got the usual Fiat barn doors, but with these big double glazed windows, and then parking sensors built into the rear bumper. No reversing camera, but you could of course get one added. One of the advantages of a smaller van of course is that it's easier to manoeuvre anyway. The colour, this iron grey metallic, is one of the now limited colour palette that Fiat offer. It's a £980 option. Fresh water, well, the fresh water tank is inboard. Really pleased to see that, especially because it's winter of course. It's an 80-litre tank inboard of course, so it won't freeze in the winter. And your waste tank, well, that is underslung. It's a 92-litre tank, but it's heated and insulated, so again better for winter camping and better for easy draining because you've just got this nice solid handle. No fiddly little taps. The main door, the habitation door or sliding door, is of course on the offside, as you'd expect with most continental or imported campervans. The step is nice and wide for easy access, and you've got a full-size fly screen across the entrance, and that just nicely glides. It seems a better fitting than some of the ones I've come across. But the thing I really like when you open the door is this chrome Malibu branding and the backlighting at the back of the galley. It does give you a premium feel before you've even gone inside your campervan. Now I should point out that that step doesn't auto retract unfortunately when you start the engine, so you do have to remember. But the thing I want to show you next is the storage here in the back of the campervan, and also to point out that although this is a 3.5 ton van for anybody to drive on a standard car license, it has a generous payload, 651 kilos as specified here with all these options. Now when you open the back doors, you have access to this really generous under bed area. Now it measures 1.16 metres deep, 83 centimetres across, and up to the crossbars 46 centimetres high. Now you will note that this bed height is not as great as some. In fact, the Diversity 600 from Malibu, the underbed locker is 74 centimetres high, so quite a useful extra bit of height. But the benefits in terms of the bed we'll come on to a bit later on, and they are worth having. Of course, because the bed is lower, the gas locker over here is a little bit compromised. It won't take the 6 kilo Cala cylinder. Now here we've got a 2.75 camping gas cylinder. Alternatives are available. You can use a 2.7 kilo Gaslow refillable cylinder in there, and there is a flow gas cylinder at 5 kilos which should also fit. The German brochure specifies 2 5 kilo cylinders, but unfortunately that isn't a Cala size, so probably go for the Gaslow refillables maybe at 2.7. Now if you want more storage to get bikes on board perhaps, then you can adapt this into a full height garage in the usual way with this type of layout. And you'll notice that unlike some, it is a slatted bed base right the way across, right to the walls. Now in best Blue Peter Traditions. I've already pulled these straps out from the top lockers. So here's one I prepared earlier, as they say. And the same on the other side. You've got the strap hanging down from the top cupboard. Just get those ready. These crossbars simply lift out. You've got your 4 fixed tie-down lashing points in the garage floor, and usefully you can also remove this front panel, so if you've got long loads they can go through into the main living space. And having achieved your full-size bike garage, well, you've got access into your combi boiler. Now that is a 6E gas and electric boiler in this particular van. That is another optional upgrade. Standard spec is just the gas only one. The water tank is built into this locker at the side, and you've got access from the top for servicing. But what you haven't got is any of those fiddly cupboards and drawers that you can't get at anyway when this area is full of stuff. So time now to have a proper look inside this Malibu, and you notice some details straight away. Things like this padded soft feel headlining and the same trim on the sliding door. These blinds are quite unusual too, because they pull down from the top, first of all as pleated blinds, and then pull down again if you want the fly screen. You'll notice too, as I said, you can't have the coupe finish in this vehicle because that gives you the full headroom into the cab. You can't have the sky view either. You do get instead this decent size over cab locker. Now, all Fiat campervans used to be like this, and sometimes people complain that they bang their head going into the cab, but yeah, you get used to it. And of course, in a smaller van, every bit of extra storage is important. You've also got a proper wind-up hecky roof light, not the cheap nasty push-up one. So that's another plus. As usual with the Fiat, both cab seats swivel very easily, and they're both height adjustable and both have a pair of armrests. Now this is very much a 2-person van. Yeah, you can have the pop top and go for a 4-berth, but it's probably better as a 2-berth. But if you invite friends in, it's good to note that you still have the swivel extension on your table, and then if you're sitting here, it's easy to reach your dinner. The lounge layout is of course the typical continental style with this half dinette. This fabric is called London, and there are plenty of other options. You get 2 rear seat belts, net curtain on the window, and of course then the blind as well, and rear speakers. In this vehicle we've got the Cherry style furniture, which is a £620 upgrade. Cherry Classic is the standard trim. What else? Well, everything feels very nicely made. You've got these strong sprung hinges on the top lockers, and it all feels very durable. Nice chrome handles, positive locking, bit of mood lighting. You've got this TV bracket behind which just slides out a little bit. The bracket's a £220 option, but that of course doesn't include the 24-inch TV to go on there. So it's a typical continental style lounge, but very nicely done, and it all, as I say, it all just feels that bit better quality than some of its rivals. You've got the usual stepped floor with a bit of storage underneath it, and that's neatly shaped around the table leg so you don't have to move the table to get at it. But one of my favourite features is the slide out drawer for your shoes under the seat. Apart from that shoe drawer, there isn't any other storage under this bench seat because, well, when you see the washroom and how the toilet slides away, you'll understand. What you can do though is get the table out of the way, and it will store in that over cab cupboard if you haven't already stuffed everything else in there. And it does feel more spacious once you've got the table removed. In fact, this lounge really doesn't feel any different to if you're in a 6-metre campervan of this ilk. Other details before we move on to the kitchen, well, over the door you've got your CP Plus trimmer control for the gas and electric heating. That is a £750 option to upgrade to the electric version of the heating, and a very simple, very easy to use control panel too. So the kitchen, well, for a start, it's in the usual place alongside the sliding door, where you'd expect. It has this angle at this end of the unit, so the aisle isn't too narrow. Obviously it is a bit restricted, but that's the confines of a panel van. And there is some good detailing. You've got a nice worktop extension at the end, and that has a simple release handle underneath. Just squeeze and it drops down. You've got a main socket underneath there, so that's conveniently situated. And then the sink does increase your worktop space because you've got this divided lid. It's got like a chopping board cover on the underside too, but if you leave this part, the smaller part, in situ, again, you're freeing up a little bit more worktop and can still use the sink. Cooker, well, that's your standard 2-burner hob. It has got push button ignition. And then above you've got this rack for tins or spices or whatever. The best bits, well, storage is surprisingly excellent. You've got your cutlery drawer, cutlery and utensil drawer at the top, all the drawers soft close, and then 2 more large drawers underneath. So no bending down on the floor and trying to see into cupboards. You've got good storage space. The fridge isn't quite so convenient. It's an 84-litre compressor fridge, so just switch on and forget, and it should be nice and efficient in hot weather. I do like the vans where you've got the fridge here, because then you can reach it from outside. But one clever little detail again, this is your washroom here, but there's a false floor in the first bit of the washroom. So if you want to get into the fridge, just step back almost as if you're into the washroom, and then access into that fridge is nice and easy. You're not trying to maneuver yourself in this obviously narrowest part of the van here. So again, you've got most of what you'd expect in a 6-metre van of this size with a fixed bed. Maybe the fridge isn't quite so convenient here as there, but it makes up for that with the excellent drawer-based storage. The washroom is obviously quite a bit smaller than in the 6-metre Malibu van, but it does still work. Now, we'll take out this piece of false floor, and then you can see that the shower tray has 2 drains. Now, it's a washroom that's open during the day, and you have these frosted screens that come round to give you privacy. So, yeah, private enough. And then when you want to shower, not only do you use those screens, but this one unfolds. So it's not the biggest shower cubicle, but it is big enough. Well, big enough for me anyway. And it does all work well. There's no shower curtain to horribly stick to you. These doors provide cover for the furniture, so that side of it all works well, as I say. Then if you just want to wash your hands, you've got this small basin. It's a backless one, so you'll have to be quick because your water's flowing away all the time. But yeah, that's probably the biggest compromise in this space, that it is a small backless wash basin. Storage is good. You've got these mirror fronted cupboards, and you've even got some fiddle rails. Okay, very little low ones, but you have got good storage for your toiletries with the fiddle rails there, and a little shelf section there as well. Now the clever bit is, where's the loo? Well, the loo slides away under the bench seat, and when you want to use it, it just pulls out. Now again, space isn't hugely generous. You wouldn't want to be a lot bigger than me, certainly in terms of leg length, before you'd be perhaps uncomfortable in terms of using this space. But standing or sitting, it's big enough for me. And the fact that the loo just slides away, and that's what makes this space work in terms of the shower. You've got a roof vent above, enough lighting, and well, those twin drains in the shower. Yeah, it's quite a good practical space. The only thing that will need attention, and I'm told it's a matter of adjustment, is these doors. That could be a bit annoying on the road. And so to the bedroom. Now the bed at the back here is narrower than you'd get in, say, the Malibu 600 and a lot of the other 6-metre vans, but I think it's still perfectly adequate. If you compare it with the bed in a typical VW Transporter camper van, well, it's bigger than those. Measurements, it's 1.91 metres long, so they have maximised the width in the Ducato. Width is 1.36 metres at this end, narrowing to 1.21 metres at the foot. In old money, 6'3" by 4'5½", narrowing to just under 4 foot. But I wonder if you can guess what the best bit is, the bit I like the most in this entire van. Yep, I can sit up in bed. I can sit up to read a magazine. Not just any old magazine, of course. It is MMM that brings you these road test reviews and has been the best-selling and best motorhome magazine in the UK for over 50 years. Get your copy at outandaboutlive.co.uk. And it's not just me that likes to sit up in bed. Mark Darby wrote to me and said that he was looking for a van like this. Well, Mark, if you're still looking, here at last is a van of this type in which you can comfortably sit up in bed. No worries at all about me banging my head. I could sit here. Yeah, it's very, very nice. It's so much nicer, and it's just because the bed is lower. Because the bed's lower, you haven't got that headroom issue. Even though you've still got shelves and cupboards above you, you can now comfortably sit up in bed. And there's great detailing too. And you've got the blinds, you've got the opening windows, you've got a roof vent up there. And here's another thing that I really, really like. The cupboards at the foot of the bed, well, they're much deeper. Not so deep that you'll bang your feet, they're still way above foot level. But you sleep this way round, feet at that end, at the near side, and you've got a deep cupboard for your clothes over there, folded clothes. Alongside that, you've got a small, it's only a very small wardrobe, but it is hanging space. And cleverly, Malibu haven't fitted a floor in it. So if you've got a longer item, it won't get all scrunched up at the bottom. It just dangles out of the bottom of the wardrobe. How neat is that? And don't forget too that because the bed is lower, you don't need super long legs or a step or a ladder or anything to get into it. I call that a win-win. Now I think it's time to go for a drive, but before I do, I'll just highlight some of the features. Because you've got the chassis pack, that includes the Remis cab blinds. You've got also in that pack the heated and electrically adjustable mirrors and the passenger seat height adjustment and the cab seats in the same trim as the rest of the living area. Got the 90-litre fuel tank as well and the parking sensors all in the chassis pack. And then in the style pack, it's important to note that that includes the leather steering wheel. But as I say, it's effectively, those are going to be pretty much standard spec for UK buyers. This one is the 140 bhp engine. You can upgrade, but also worth noting that you've got the 9-speed automatic gearbox, which is £3,530 extra. On the road, frankly, you won't notice that this is a medium wheelbase and not a long or extra long Ducato until you get it into town and park in a supermarket car park or in the street, in which case you'll really appreciate the shorter length of this van. And you'll also appreciate it, of course, if you take a wrong turning, which hopefully we won't today. Other than that, it drives like most other Fiat Ducato panel vans. Yeah, there are some rattles. Not too bad. I've tried to silence the ones from the shower screens. Not entirely successfully, as you can hear. There also appear to be some rattles from the blinds, but this isn't a great bit of road. Other than that, it drives well. I mean, it's a firm ride in these Fiats, hence the rattles, but that does mean that they feel very stable on the road. They handle nicely. Dashboard's okay. Feels a bit dated now, especially these hard, cheap plastics. Spec, well, you've got what you'd expect really: air conditioning, traction plus, hill holder. What you haven't got is the radio controls on the steering wheel. You've got this nice Pioneer radio, no reversing camera or sat nav as standard, but you've got this nice radio. That is an upgrade again. It's an optional feature, but no radio controls on the steering wheel, which is slightly disappointing. But yeah, it's another Fiat Campervan. So if you're happy driving one of these Fiats, then this is much the same as most of the others. So, final verdict time on these Twix bars. I mean, on the Malibu Van Compact 540 DB. Well, what don't I like? The gas compartment is small. That is probably my biggest bugbear with this van. There's no spare wheel, and I would like to be able to have that sky view option over the cab. Other than that, well, it's a typical Malibu campervan, so it's beautifully made, beautifully finished. You can feel in the furniture, and Malibu talks a lot about the quality of insulation in the floor and the walls and so on. You can just feel that this is a premium van, and with the inboard freshwater tank and the heated waste tank, you'd feel confident about using this in the winter. But would you buy this one or a bigger one? Would you buy this one or the bigger one? Well, I think I'd have the smaller one. I like that low bed. It's so easy to access, and the fact that you can sit up in bed, well, that does it for me. The washroom is the most compromised area of this being the smaller van. I don't mind the fact that the bed's a bit smaller. I don't mind that the fact that the kitchen's a bit smaller. The lounge feels much the same. As long as you can get on with that washroom, then I think you'll benefit from the smaller size on the road of this smaller Malibu. So, it's the smaller one for me. Thanks for watching.